Thank you, councillors. Welcome to our November meeting, and to those in our gallery, thank you for joining us. And it's November. Where did the year go? We have apologies from Councillor Carpenter. And please be advised that this council meeting is recorded. It will be live streamed and remain available to the public online. I'd call on Councillor Smith to do the acknowledgement of country and the statement of values, please.
Our acknowledgement of country. The Central Coast Council acknowledges and pays respect to the traditional owners of Latrawatra, Tasmania, the Palina people. We acknowledge the Palina tribe of this northern country, and in doing so, we celebrate one of the world's oldest continuing cultures. And our statement of values, guided by the diverse beliefs, experiences and backgrounds of the people we represent, we strive to make inspired and respectful decisions today that will build a better tomorrow.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Got to share that task around us all. Great, we will get underway. Item 1.1 is the confirmation of minutes. The minutes of the ordinary meeting of the council held on the 16th of October have been circulated to you. Would a councillor care to move? Thank you, Councillor Hesketh. Seconded, Councillor Viney. Any discussion? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. We're sorry we haven't got an air conditioner. We're all suffering from the same affliction. Item 2.1, councillor workshops. A list there of the workshops that you've undertaken since we last met. Would a councillor care to move that suggested resolution?
Sure.
Councillor Lehman, seconded Councillor Wiley. Any discussion? No, there being none. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Mayor's communications. So just a couple of things to add. Yesterday, or two things to add. So yesterday, or on Saturday, attended the thank you event for the people and organisations that sponsored the South Riana Hall 80-year celebrations. So we were presented with a certificate of appreciation and some other items to acknowledge that time. It was a great morning tea for those that sponsored, a great photo collage up on the wall that showed the events of the 80th anniversary. So they indeed did a fabulous job, and it was nice that they took the time to have a special little event to say thank you to all the individuals and organisations that helped them achieve that. So great for that community, great for all of us. And the other thing that I want to make particular notice of, even though it's in my diary, is the celebration last weekend for John Deacon for 65 years of his involvement in judo. John has recently turned 80, so that's not bad. We had a lovely celebration event just to acknowledge his 65 years contribution to that sport, both at a state, national and international level. The Premier came and gave a presentation to John and said a few words, so that's an indication of the value of that contribution to the community. And it was only the following week that John led some 15 or 20 school students in a the equivalent of a tri-sport event the following week, and led that and managed that. So I have to say there's not many 80-year-olds that can still wrangle a bunch of 9-year-olds for a few hours of heavy physical activity. So, and of course, John was a former councillor for Central Coast. So yeah, it was a great event. So I just wanted to give you share that extra information with you in case you see those people out in our community and you could acknowledge that. Moving on to 3.2, then is the Mayor's Diary. Just wanted to acknowledge that also to be included there was the Access and Inclusion Group meeting. It was a great meeting, the end of year meeting for our Access and Inclusion group, the first time that the General Manager got to meet all those folks, and they're very happy with the work that we're doing as an organisation to address some of those issues. So very engaged group. And also on Sunday, Pride in the Park with Councillor Diprise which was another good gathering down at Otto's Grotto. 10 years of Pride in the Park. So not a significant milestone for that event as well, which was fabulous.
Sorry, Mayor, I just have one more that you've forgotten that you also attended, and that was the Men's Day event with the Penguin Lions Club.
Thank you. Yes, International Men's Day, which was actually on Sunday, but we had breakfast a bit early. We had breakfast on Friday at Penguin Sports and Services Club, the event held by the Penguin Lions Club, and presentation to Dudley Corbett as an outstanding man in the community, achieving great and quiet things. And he was silenced. He was stuck for words, and that's not often that we see Dudley stuck for words. So no, it was a great event. So thank you, Councillor Duprose. That being the case, could I have somebody move that? And sorry, Councillor Beswick and Councillor Lehman also attended events on behalf of the community. Deputy Mayor, did you wish to add anything?
Probably just on one thing. It was a privilege to attend the Ambulance Awards and Recognition Ceremony because the great work that our paramedics do, but also our volunteers. There's a lot of volunteers involved in the ambulance service, and it was just a pleasure to be able to go and recognise those people.
And thank you to Councillor Lehman for laying the wreath in Penguin on Remembrance Day. That being all, would any councillor care to move the suggested resolution? Thank you, Councillor Wiley, seconded Councillor Duprose. Any further discussion? No. Thank you to you all for your contribution. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 3.3 is declarations of interest. Does any councillor have an interest to declare in any matter on this agenda? No. There being none, we're moving on. 4.1 is councillor reports. Councillors that are appointed to community and other groups by the council are invited now to share anything that you need to share with us from those groups. Any councillors wish to report? Councillor Smith.
I've attended the meeting with that municipal band. They're getting on very well with their Christmas concert, which is coming up really fast. They're really pleased with their new roof that they've been given confirmation that it's going to be done on approximately the 15th of January. So they're really pleased with that. Things are still going really well for them there. There's not a lot more that we can say. That we are going to go and visit their mayor when we get a chance. They're really pleased with everything, and they're just looking forward to continuing to serve the community with what they do so well. And they're very pleased with everything as it's going on for us. So just well done for getting that, and especially the roof. It's something that they're really pleased it's happening. So
coming up to the very, very busy time of the year for our band, Christmas and carols, and we have of course asked if they would join us on Christmas Eve to celebrate the clock's 70th birthday by playing Happy Birthday to the Clock. So yeah, it's a busy time of the year for them.
And they might even have, sorry to interrupt there, they might even have our Central Coast song to music for us. Right. They're working on it at the moment. So the mayor's asked them, and so they're progressing well there.
Any other reports? Actually, sorry, Councillor Biscuit.
Yeah, just briefly, the Slipstream Circus Committee would just like to pass on their thanks for being asked to be included in the conversation regarding the Civic Centre. So thank you.
Right. Fabulous. Thank you. We will move on. 5.1 is leave of absence. There are no applications for consideration at this meeting. 6.1 deputations. No requests for deputations to address the meeting or make statements or deliver reports have been made. 7.1 petitions. There is a petition received to develop a footpath connecting Forth Village and Turners Beach. At this point in the agenda, our task is to note and receive the petition and the number of signatures. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution to this item? Thank you, Councillor Viney. Seconded, Councillor Wiley. Councillor Varney, did you wish to speak? Noting
Yes.
that we're receiving it at this point.
Yes, just dealing with the receipt of the petition and noting that there are 626 signatories to that petition, which is not insubstantial. We will deal with it later on in the agenda.
Thank you. Any other discussion or speakers? No, it's fine. There being none, I've put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 8.1, councillors' questions without notice. Councillors are invited to advise of any questions to be asked and the direction that the director to which they are headed. Around the table, Councillor Lehman.
No, thank you.
Councillor Wiley.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Smith.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Dipro.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Hiskett. Councillor Viney.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Beswick.
Yeah, I have one for the Director of Corporate Services. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, and none for myself. 8.2, councillors' questions on notice. No questions on notice have been received. 9.1 is just to advise those in the public gallery about public question time. So at a time between agenda items, at or close to 6:40, the council will allow 30 minutes of public question time. If you're intending to ask a question, just note that a maximum of 2 questions to be asked. And we just ask that you state your name and introduce yourself and ask your question. If council are unable to answer a question at this time, a written response will follow, but we can touch on that again at 6:40 when it comes close to public question time. 9.2 is public questions on notice. No public questions were taken on notice from the October 16th meeting. 10.1, minutes and notes of committees of council or other organisations. This doesn't happen very often, does it? When there's none, I actually looked and double checked the attachments to see if our staff had made an error. No minutes or notes of committees have been received. A reminder that if you are serving on a committee of council, it is your obligation to make sure that we get the copies of the minutes, please, through to Melissa or Ian. 10.2, Cradle Coast Waste Management Group Annual Report 2022. You have a copy of the report and you have a summary there in the agenda. And a suggested resolution. Would any councillor care to move the
So moved,
suggested? Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Is there a seconder? Councillor Hiskett. Councillor Beswick, did you wish to speak to this?
No, there's not a lot need to be said about it, Mayor. It's a group that does a lot of work for our northwest region. Waste is a big issue generally, and you know, with us bringing in FOGO a few years ago, we've started to help in that area, and it's great to see the other councils coming on board with that in the future. One thing I'd just like to acknowledge I'd like to note was the acknowledgement of Sandra Ayton's tenure as the chairman of that group. So I'm not exactly sure how long. It doesn't mention that in there, but Sandra was the chairperson of that group for quite a long time. So I'd just like to acknowledge that as part of the report.
Thank you. Yes, any other speakers to that report? No? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.3 is the common seal. And we have an updated schedule in hard copy there with you. It's in the common seal, 17 October to 20 November. When you're ready, could I have a councillor move the suggested resolution?
Sorry.
The schedule is updated. Thank you, Councillor Viney. Seconded, Councillor Lehman. Councillor Viney, any comments on that?
No comments.
No. Any other discussion? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.4, schedule of contracts and agreements. Would the councillor care to move the suggested, noting that the schedule has been updated? Councillor Dick Rose, seconded, Councillor Smith. Councillor Dick Rose, did you wish to speak to the schedule?
Hi, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.5 is correspondence addressed to the mayor and councillors. Please note again that the schedule has been updated. Just some things there that we needed to add in. Could I have somebody move the suggested resolution? Thank you, Councillor Hiskett. Seconded, councillor Lehman. Councillor Hiskett, anything to comment on there? No? Any other comments? No, there being none, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against, the motion is carried. And no questions for the General Manager's Department. 10.6, Central Coast Council Homelessness Strategy. A full report there and a copy of the strategy that you know we've all been working on for the last 12 months. Do I have a councillor that would care to move the suggested resolution for this item? Thank you. Councillor Diprose. A seconder, please. Councillor Viney, thank you. Councillor Diprose, do you wish to speak to this item?
Well, it's just fabulous to see that now that we have a homeless strategy. I still get a bit uncomfortable with the wording of homelessness and still like displacement. However, people understand and know exactly what it is. I would like to acknowledge Director Connolly and his team for all the work that they do in a space that isn't a very nice one at times. And also want to acknowledge our field staff that are out there that, see people all the time, or we have people come in upset. It really sometimes is a bit of a social worker role that some of our staff have to take on, as well as ourselves. To see this go ahead and the roundtable that happened just goes to show that you actually can, with conversation, do a lot of good work. And especially if you get a lot of people in the same room that have the same ideas and the same passion and the same caring nature. It might take a while, and there's always going to be things that need to be ironed out, but to have something like this to look at, to work towards, to continually know where to go, to improve things, to come with ideas, is really pleasing to see. And I hope more councils take note and take the same lead, so we can, really do something to try and lessen the amount of people that we have sleeping it rough, sleeping it tough, and sometimes sleeping it dangerously.
Thank you. Any other speakers, please?
Yes,
Thank you, Councillor Viney.
Homelessness or displacer is not a new thing. However, it has got very big lately, in particular in relation to how the economy is and how Australia is, and even the rest of the world is. But it's good to be able to put something in place so we actually do know how to deal with it and can do something when it crops up. So I'm pleased to be able to second the motion and put it to council.
Fabulous. Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Wiley.
Thank you. I won't repeat anything that's already been said, but concur with everything that both Councillor Diprose and Councillor Viney have said. But I'd also like to acknowledge Councillor Diprose in her work in starting the motion that has ended in this body of work, and also to Director Connolly for leading his team with this as well. But well done to you, Councillor Diprose, for making this happen.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Beswick.
Yeah, likewise as Councillor Wiley, everything's been said, but again, I'd just like to reiterate the work that our staff have done, and definitely Director Darryl, and his team behind that, and also acknowledge the work from all of the community groups that came together in our roundtable. There was a great attendance, and that's ongoing. So I thank those community groups that have become involved in helping in this space. Let's hope that every day it just ends up being a little bit better for those that are in that need. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Councillor Hiskett.
Yes, it's an absolutely great document. It's one of those funny ones to reconcile what the role of local government is in this space. And we could easily have washed our hands and said it's not our role, but I would beg to differ what a difference we've made through the actions of particularly Councillor Diprose and Director Connolly. It would have been well within our remit to say, no, we don't have to do anything, but through their actions we did. So very well done. And the documents, very well committed.
Any other speakers? I suppose I would just add, again, as you've said, Councillor Beswick, just acknowledge the great work by the community groups and our role is one of, not only there are things that are in our remit to do, and we have been able to influence and join dots and connect people together, but it is a fabulous example of the fact that identifying a problem, the facilitation role that local government play, because really all we needed to do at the outset was to put all the right people in a room all together and listen to them. And the proof is in the pudding. Thank you, Councillor Wiley. I was worried that if I shut the door, then we'd all pass out from the heat. Thank you. Yes, so it's ongoing work, and echo the comments of others. Councillor Dick Rose, did you wish to close?
No, other than I just want to acknowledge, everyone that was around the table at the time who actually voted for the motion, because without that, this wouldn't have happened. And then for our new members that have come on and actually embraced that as well, thank you, because it's, it's a joint effort. Yeah, and I think it's something, and I'm sure you all are, as myself and all the staff should be as well, extremely proud of this document and what we can do, and putting our foot forward and putting our hand up saying, yes, there are things we can do to help regardless of how huge the problem seems to be. Thank you.
Thank you. On that note, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.7 is development application determinations. You've been provided with a schedule of the determinations made. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item, please?
So move me.
Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconded, Councillor Smith. No updates to the schedule. Councillor Beswick, did you wish to speak to that?
Don't think there's anything else to add, Mayor.
Right,
Thank
thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.8 is council acting as a planning authority. I have a councillor move the suggested resolution there. Thank you, Councillor Hiskett. Seconded, Councillor Wiley. No discussion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. So 10.9 takes us to the draft amendment of the Central Coast Local Provisions Schedule, the LPS, to amend the Turners Beach Specific Area Plan. We have workshopped the plan. You've been provided with a copy of that detail. Would councillor care to move the suggested resolution for that item?
Move that, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Beswick. Seconder, please, Councillor Dick Rose. Councillor Beswick, did you wish to speak to this?
Yes, Mayor. Over time, we need to review policies in all our areas where we've got, what do we call them? The big fancy LPS, which means the local provisions schedule. Sounds like scheme to schedule. And all of them will be reviewed, and this is one of the early ones with Turners Beach. I'd just like to note that when anything gets changed, there's always concerns in some members with the community, and acknowledge some of the correspondence that we've received. And I'd also encourage anybody that lives in that space to put in a representation for the changes if they see that they would like to see those changes. In my previous career as a builder, I used to find that some of these standards were a bit regressive because in the end there's a fair bit of red tape involved with some of the items, and those areas have probably been addressed in what we've got here before us. The main sort of concern seems to be about height, privacy and shading, and so forth. With privacy and shading, it does say in CCO-S5-7 to minimise privacy and shading, and that's in the current document. As this is the start of a process where the community does give us feedback, that's one area perhaps I'd like to see us perhaps look at, because the planning scheme addresses prescriptively how we deal with privacy and shading more so than a comment that minimise. Currently the mandated height for Turners Beach is 5.5 metres, which is basically a single story house. And in a lot of instances these days, as blocks are getting smaller, it's quite common to have 2-story houses. You can get discretion to go to 7.5 metres. Whenever there's discretion, I feel, and it's usually allowed, and that's what we've seen over the years, for me, I would probably remove the 5.5 metres and go up to what is proposed, which is to fit in with the planning scheme, to 8.5 metres. The difference between 7.5 metres and 8.5 metres, when you look at the way that the building envelope works, if you've got a 20-metre wide block, it's only going to be 9 metres wide in the centre of that block and 1 metre high. But what that does give people is a scope to actually enhance the look of a house without going to 7.5 metres and having a flat roof. It gives you an opportunity to have different facade treatments to improve the streetscape, for instance. There's a lot of houses that are in Turners Beach already that are up to 8.5 metres or perhaps even a fraction more. So when we're talking about keeping the character and so forth of Turners Beach, you know, in the areas around the river end, there was quite a few 2-story houses built over the years. And I'm quite happy to support the changes that have been recommended in this document. Let's just keep going through my notes. I think I've probably covered everything in there. So, yeah, so as blocks get narrower, naturally that 8.5 changes as well, like as far as the narrowness of this extra piece that we're actually putting in there, and the current planning scheme with the building envelope, I think, with the prescriptive standards in that, it gives you the I'll say the support for neighbours so that you're not impinging on their shading and or privacy. That's all I've got with me.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Hiscott.
Yeah, just as a process question to make sure that people are familiar, and I'll be happy to be corrected if I say anything incorrect by the director. Yeah, this is an initiation of an LPS amendment, is that the right word? So this from here, we have already had community consultation sessions previous to this, but from this it will now move to back to the community to have their views put to it. That will then come back to council with any recommendations council wish to make to that, any changes we may wish to recommend, but the original document will go to the state government, who will make any decisions on any state specific area plans. So I concur with many of the remarks from Councillor Beswick, so I won't speak any more to those comments. I'll just support his comments. This will be an opportunity for public discourse on this.
Indeed, we would encourage the people of Turners Beach to have a look at it in that process. Any further comments? Councillor Wiley.
Yes, well, I'd just like to make comment on that the specific area plan was made at a particular time for a reason. So the people of Turners Beach would have had some opinions at the time that have put this specific area plan the way that it was to with that community consultation that would have happened at the time. And what's changed since then is that there are other policies, strategies. The Tasmanian planning scheme has changed. And so there has been repetition, and correct me if I'm wrong with any of this, Director Connolly, repetition with some of what's in here, what's in the Tasmanian planning scheme, and even things like vegetation and things like that are covered in our Greening Central Coast strategy. So I think that it's certainly something when I first read that it looked like there was quite a few changes, but it has actually got rid of some of the points that were quite clunky and just really made it a much clearer, or what's proposed is a much clearer document for people to understand and hopefully take away some of that confusion. One of the things that I know we have had some correspondence regarding the building height, and after doing a little bit more research into what that actually means within this document, I'm a bit more comfortable with the proposed changes, being that it's still the acceptable solution is still 5.5 metres. Anything above that, which yes, it has changed from 7.5 to 8.5, is still discretionary use, and it still has performance criteria that it needs to meet for that to be passed through council. So I guess from here, what I would like to see is people really take on board what's in this document, ask questions, get the correct information to come up with their conclusion or their opinion of it, and just to make sure that that does get represented on both sides, whatever it is that you believe, because we do want to hear from as many community members as possible to make sure that we can retain the special place that Turners Beach is and its unique character.
Indeed, I see. Any other speakers? No, councillor Beswick, did you wish to close?
No, I think everything's been said, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Following the conclusion of planning matters, I note that the council is no longer acting as a planning authority. And we had no councillor questions for the Department of Community Services. 10.10 is for infrastructure services. So 10.10 is the petition report. This is the report that responds to the petition that we received earlier in the agenda. You have the directors' comments there. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for this item, please? Thank you, councillor Viney. Seconded. Councillor Beswick. Councillor Viney.
Yes, first step was accepting the petition, which we have done earlier in the meeting, but now is to actually bring it into discussion, and it has been discussed around the council table quite a deal in the past, and it will continue to be on our agenda as part of the Coastal Pathways program. There is a and at this stage we will take it on and put it into our feasibility study to look at the project as a whole for into the future. But I do note that within the notes that are there, there's quite a deal of a cost involved with putting that pathway in between $2.5 and $3 million. So it will come into budgetary constraints, but it certainly is being looked at and will continue to be looked at in process.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Wiley.
Yes, I would like to thank the community member who put the petition in. I know that there's a lot of hard work that goes into getting all of these signatures, and obviously the community is very much on board with wanting a footpath with 626 signatures. So it is it's a powerful thing to be able to do something like that to represent the community and have their voices heard. So well done to all of the work that's gone into that. And I certainly would like to note the points that were made at the start of the petition, which is about access, safety for children, moving to and from. Forth Village is such a thriving little community that to see it connected to the rest of the coast safely, I think would be of benefit to our whole municipality. Finding the money is another thing. So that's something that I guess we'll just have to think or look really hard into in the future.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Beswick.
Thanks, Mayor. Coastal pathways are one of my pet hobbies, probably. The connectivity that the existing pathways has created. We live nearby one of them, and the use that it gets is just amazing. I note there that we'll be doing a feasibility study in the 2026 to 2030 future term plan. So then at least we'll have a plan of how we're going to do it, a budget that can be, let's say, throw a dart at, to be able to perhaps get some government funding, because that's the way that something like this probably will be funded. I do also note, though, that the next pathway to get connectivity is from, say, from Lona around to Penguin, which is the last link in what is the coastal pathway. I look forward to that one being completed, and then this to me would be the next one straight off the bat after that, definitely. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other speakers? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.11 is the Strategic Asset Management Plan. Again, you had a workshop on this recently, and you've been awarded a copy of the plan, which has some honest statements in it in relation to our asset management. Could I have a councillor move the suggested resolution for this item? Councillor Hiskett, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Bestwick. Councillor Hiskett.
Yes, certainly a sobering document to an extent. We had a workshop on this, which revealed to us the state of our current assets. It's not anything that is too unachievable as long as we monitor and work with it, I think is the primary outcome of this that we need to know. We need to go out and do some proper studies on what our real assets are like versus our desktop analysis. And looking deeper into the details, it was noticed that a lot of it was only recently outside of its renewal zone. So I think we will be able to reassess that, and that's what that management plan dictates to us. So, yeah, a good document and a lot of work gone into it. So,
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Bestwick.
Yeah, just to thank the staff for the work that they've done in putting this paper together. There's been a lot of work done. On page 6, it mentions about the next steps. So it's the actions that result from this asset management plan, and basically getting out and coming up with some firm numbers on all of our assets so that we can make some plans. Some may need maintenance sooner, but some might not need it as soon. So in the end, it can be targeted in a time frame that works best for those assets. So I commend the staff, and it gives us a good working document moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? No. Councillor Hiskett, anything further to add?
nothing to add.
No, there being no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.12 is the tender for bridge replacement, Leven River, Loongana Road, Loongana. And you've been provided with the required documentation in the closed sections of the council. Could I have a councillor move the suggested resolution for this item? Thank you, Councillor Viney, seconded by Councillor Smith. Councillor Viney, bridges.
Bridges.
Mm.
This is a replacement of the bridge over the Leven River at Loongana, which has been a problem bridge in the past, and I think it's been affected by about the last half dozen floods that have happened up there. Firstly, I'd note that it's come in under budget. However, we didn't choose the least costly budget simply because we needed a better solution to the bridge there, and hopefully we'll get a lot more years out of it because of the spans, and we're taking on our expert opinion from our engineer to accept that recommendation.
Good. Thank you. Other speakers? Councillor Hiskett.
Yes, just to echo that the criteria panel provides reasons and justifiable reasons for the decision that we're making in this regard, and trust the people that have made those recommendations wholeheartedly and can see their reasoning for that. Understandably, some people may be frustrated by that, but I think it's clear in the documentation we've been provided as the practice.
Fabulous. Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Smith.
Yes, I concur with the other councillors. It's been a problem, that bridge, especially since our last big flood. We're going to have some very pleased residents up there, and it's just lovely to see that that's progressed, and we're going to have a really good bridge there that's going to do us for a long time. And I think that could be one of our last bridges we may have to do for a while. So it's just good to see things happening.
Good, certainly. Thank you. The residents of Loongana and surrounds will be comforted by a bridge that we've all got good faith in after the trauma they've been through recently. So looking forward to getting that underway. Councillor Bestwick.
Just like to make a quick note that 70%, I believe, of this funding is coming from flood recovery funds. So it's an opportunity for us as a municipality to get a good bridge that's paid for in large part by the flood recovery. So we can get a bridge that's going to last us for a long time out of this. So some good comes out of some bad.
You're back better. I do apologise. Councillor Viney, did you move this?
Yes, I do.
Yes, sorry, I just had a mental lapse. Did you wish to close,
No,
Councillor
thanks.
Viney? No, thank you. There being no further discussion, I put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried, and no councillor had a question for the Department of Infrastructure Services. And before we all pass out in the public gallery, I appreciate it is warm. So welcome and thank you for your attendance and your interest. So as we've said at the outset, it's time for public question time. We have an allocation of some 30 minutes. Should you wish to ask a question, we just ask that you stand if you can and state your name and where you're from. And we do sort of put a ceiling on it of 2 questions. And if we can answer that question this evening, we will through the relevant director or the general manager. Otherwise, we will get a response to you in writing. And just a reminder that questions are recorded in the minutes and the meeting is live streamed. So this just always pays to remember that as well. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Question. Okay. Hey, I'm Stephanie Scott, you all know that. I'm from Leadway Much, you all know that.
Thank you, Stephanie.
I've run out of money. I can't afford to pay people to do all the paperwork for me. So the last planning thing, I can't get through. Say,
Okay, so we thank you for coming along and appreciate how difficult it is for you. Darryl, did you want to give councillors an update where we're at and how we can assist and move forward with the
Yes,
provision of services?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mayor, and sorry, Stephanie.
we're sorry.
Problem. So my understanding was that after you and I met in December, we did agree to waive the fees associated with the development application in
Yes.
recognition of the financial hardships. I also understand further that since then we took a look at the expert report that was required by you
A lot
to.
of money.
Yeah, and I believe we've confirmed that that meets our needs.
Yes.
So all that is required now is essentially for your original development application to be
And I have to pay people to do it for me because I am not like you lot.
It's certainly I acknowledge it's a complicated.
No,
process.
it's not complicated for you fellas because you know what you're doing. It's read right. And you can understand what you read right.
Yeah, look, Mayor, I'd be happy to, now that I understand that that is the barrier, I think on the face of it, you're really close to being able to,
Screen.
you're
So thank you.
really close to being able to lodge a development application. So I'm happy to give you a call, Stephanie, tomorrow and discuss
I'll
the
be
easiest way to
tomorrow.
do it.
Sorry.
So, Darryl, could we agree that I know that you've indicated, and for councillors, there was the agreement that that we would waive the fees, and I know that Darryl has been.
Waiving the fees, that part I understood.
Yes.
The part that you fellas don't understand is that I don't have the money to pay people to do the things that you want.
To do to do the building works.
No,
No,
the paperwork.
the application. Yeah, okay. So Darryl will reach out to you and you'll find a mutually convenient time to meet and navigate a way through that.
That's right, Mayor. I don't believe there'll be much more required beyond what was prepared last time, other than the report which you've since done. So
Yeah.
I'll try it tomorrow anyway. So
That's okay.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. Any other questions? Anyone else? No? We do have we have half an hour or until the close of the public section of the meeting, if anybody thinks of anything that they wish to raise with us. We got 2 10.13, thank you, General Manager. So 10.13 is the budget reset for 2023-24. And you are all well aware of the information that we've received in recent months and the requirement for the budget reset and what that means in relation to projects. And those projects are listed in the public agenda that would be impacted by the reset. So could I have a councillor move the suggested resolution for this item, please? Thank you,
I'll move
councillor Viney. Seconder, please.
I'll second that.
Thank you, councillor Beswick. Councillor Viney.
I'll just start by saying, a budget is an estimates. A lot of numbers to most people, but that's what it is, representing the feelings. And at this stage, normally we don't have a reset. However, there's been a lot of change in focus during the last couple of months in regard to the needs and requirements of the municipality, and we have gone ahead and put this new set of numbers together. As far as budgets are concerned, it is unusual that you're 5 months into the period you're talking about, and that in a lot of respects actually gives us more guidance as far as getting those numbers correct. So in that, I'd moving that we accept the reset budget.
Thank you. Other speakers? Councillor Heskett.
Yeah, just, as always, to acknowledge the work the staff have done on this report.
Yep.
I think it's also in response to the fact that although we've not had large deficits by any stretch of the imagination, so we've certainly had a large variance to our budget in the last couple of years. And I think this is an apt response to that, to get a more realistic budget. It does show a slightly higher deficit than our original budget, but it shows a more realistic figure that we'll end up with. So at least then we can plan for that for the future, because working off information which is invalid doesn't allow us to plan properly. It only allows us to make further mistakes into the future. So once again, well done to the staff for the work that they've done, and I'll also be supporting the budget reset.
Thank you. Other speakers? Councillor Smith.
This is a document that we just sort of had to do. Just like to also note that although there is a deficit, we expect to post just the assets of the council. People often forget it is a big business, and the assets are sitting very fine, but it's just that we just had to reset a few things to get things back on track. And I don't think I could say any more than that, just apart from the asset, everything is fine. We just had to just get ourselves at a more realistic budget, I would say, a more realistic set of numbers. I don't think I could say any more than that.
Thank you. Other speakers? No. Councillor Viney, to close.
No, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, I would remind councillors that the council by absolute majority need to adopt the budget estimates. The budget that you're presented with tonight. In that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.14 is caravans and camping bylaw, which has been some time in the making. You have workshopped this, received all of the required information to instigate the bylaw. Could I have a councillor move that this be received?
Before we
Yes.
this motion,
Yes.
could I foreshadow an amended motion which
Please do.
been distributed a copy of?
Thank you. Thank you.
So I would like to propose an amended resolution, similar in nature, just with a small change, that the council, by absolute majority, in accordance with section 156 of the Local Government Act 1993, resolve its intention to make a bylaw for the regulation of camping and caravans on land owned by or under the control of the council. 2, agrees to forward this resolution and the draft documents (Caravan and Camping Bylaw Number 1 of 2023) and the associated regulatory impact statement, copies being appended to and forming part of the minutes (to the Director of Local Government for certification under the Section 156A (6) of the Local Government Act 1993). Subsequent to the Director of Local Government certification agrees to give notice in accordance with the Section 157 of the Local Government Act 1993 and, importantly, amend Part 4-6-2 of the Draft Caravan and Camping Bylaw Number 1 of 2023 to read: a permit to camp in an overnight parking area may only be issued for a maximum of 3 nights in any 14-day consecutive period, or such other period as the General Manager authorised, and to update any associated timeframes in the draft bylaw to reflect the amended 3-night maximum camping period.
Could I have a seconder for the amended motion? Thank you, Councillor Wiley. Councillor Heskett.
Thank you. The camping bylaw is certainly something that's been red hot on my agenda, as you would all know, for about 5 years. It was when I got elected in 2018. It was one of the very first call outs I had to a constituent who had concerns, and since then I've been trying to raise the flag for us to be able to essentially be given teeth for when people do the wrong thing, to be able to move them along and potentially fine them if they continue to do the wrong thing. At the moment, or how the council had been acting up to that was either on bluff or just sort of hoping that people would be doing the right thing. So this will give us the impetus to actually be able to enforce and control that. The bylaw that's been put before us is worded in such a way that's quite scalable. There's a lot of up tos and elements like that, so that we can, at the moment we call it free camping, but the Act has the capability of adding a small fee to that if we so wish to in the future, if we need to comply with impacts on other businesses to keep, there is a word for it, competitive neutrality. Yes, it's very well worded for that account and taking that into account. The only amendment was just the fact that we had previously discussed through council agreeing for the change from 2 nights to 3 nights, and it was by agreement. It was just noted in the document. Thank you, Councillor Lehman, that it still read as 2, so we needed to make this amendment to make sure that it read as 3. But other than that, I am very much in favour of this progressing to its next stage, which is public consultation. So we'll receive feedback from the public, and that will then return to council for our views upon it again. Correct, council? We'll consider those views before we send it to the state government for their final say on the matter. And yes, long time coming, so pretty excited at the moment.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Beswick.
Thanks, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Heskett. That's good that this has come forward. It's been something that's been in the wings for a while. There's a couple of, one concern I've got is in which I'll ask a question of the director shortly, in regards to waste management. But the other thing, I'd just like to reiterate some of the commentary that's in there about the amount of free camping that people do these days and the amount that they stay in caravan parks. Some friends of ours came back from the mainland and we had dinner with them the other night, and they were away for 120 nights, and they stayed 60 nights in free camps, 30 in low-cost campgrounds, which is up around to $10–15, and then 30 nights in paid caravan parks. So that's the way, and that was on the mainland, but that's the way that people with their RV vehicles are spending their time. As they said to me, that if a town hasn't got a free or low-cost camping, they'll move on, and that's basically what we've said in this report here. So, but it is important to have some bylaws to be able to police, for the want of a better word, the way that people camp and so forth, and have some rigour around that. That's on me.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Lehman.
Just to say that this is part of a process, and so if this passes with absolute majority this evening, then it will go to certification from the Director of Local Government, and then we'll be seeking submissions from the public for up to 21 days, minimum period of 21 days. So yeah, if anyone in the public has some commentary or feedback they'd like to provide, please let us know.
Thank you. Any other speakers? No. Councillor Hiskett, did you wish to close?
Yeah, just to carry on from John's point, this is not about punishment. For those who are doing the right thing, nothing will change with the introduction of this bylaw. That's the simplest statement to make, that there is no change for those that are doing the right thing. There is just the ability to manage those that aren't. As has always been the case, if you look at the figures, people travelling through free camps do spend money in the community. There's a lot of argument about that, but the facts of the matter that are reported are certainly the fact that they do. And we espouse ourselves an RV friendly town. So here we are actually making that happen and ensuring that it happens into the future. Whereas if we continue to let what was happening continue, it would eventually get to a stage where we just have to stop. And that would be the worst outcome of all. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.15 statutory determinations. Copy of the schedule has been provided to you. Would a councillor care to move the suggested resolution for this item?
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Beswick, seconded Councillor Diprose. Councillor Beswick, do you wish to speak to this
No.
item? No.
Go forward, Mayor.
Any discussion? There being none, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. Councillor Beswick, you had a question for the Director of Corporate Services.
Yeah, just would like the director to be able to perhaps get some clarification in our caravan and camping document that we've adopted. Well, we've passed tonight to go forward to the next step. There's a mention in there about waste as being that you can't dispose of silage or grey water, which a lot of people call it, onto the campground. And I'll use the example of the other people I mentioned earlier. That is quite common in lots of areas because people want to be able to water plants, gardens and stuff like that that's in those campgrounds. So I'd just like to get some clarification around if we are able to not be perhaps so much rigor in policing that, because I think it'd be very hard as well. Even in some caravan parks that we've stayed in ourselves, that's been allowed and they actually encourage it. So I'd like to be able to get some clarification on that if we can. Thanks, Ian.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Beswick, for your question. I'm happy to take that on notice and just do a little bit of research around our environmental protection obligations. And you're right in that it would be a difficult part of the proposed bylaw to enforce. So we'll set some clarification around our obligations in that and come back to council with some advice. So the process from here, as Councillor Lehman indicated earlier, is that the bylaw goes to the Director of Local Government for formal sign-off. So he's already provided some feedback. So that shouldn't be a lengthy process. Then we'll go out for public submissions for at least 21 days. And a report will be prepared for council that will include the detail of any submissions made and a recommendation associated with any feedback that we receive. So I'll make sure that the inclusion of the silage water is included as a part of that feedback for consideration for council prior to formal adoption.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no other questions for the Director. That brings us to the closure of the meeting. Once we move the resolution item 11.1, which Ian is always keen to remind me that I'm supposed to do first and then close the meeting. 11.1 is the meeting closed to the public. Would a councillor care to move that resolution? Thank you, Councillor Diprose, seconded Councillor Wiley. Any discussion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour, aye.
Aye.
Against, the motion is carried. And now the meeting is closed to the public. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Michael. Nice to see you again.
Thank you for having me very much.
It's always good to see you. And yes, we'll leave you to talk to Daryl. Thanks for your support, team. Well done on the petition. Yeah. And thank you for joining us this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kate's going to